guys, today we are going to talk a little bit about balsa fenders and how to apply them to your car for that full balsa look, and the kit that we're offering at Derby Evolution. If you see here on the board, we have your fenders, the 6 fenders and the 2 connecting pieces. Some of the people that have seen this have been like, if I put those all together, my car is going to be like 10 inches long. Which is correct. These are just formed for ease for you to sand them to whatever size wheelbase your car is. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take these. We've got a body that's already been drilled and cut and ready to install these on. Now, the beautiful thing about these fenders is the radiuses are already cut into them, so you don't have to worry about cutting the radius and getting the radius right for your wheels. And we offer different size radius for different size wheels. So for the non-dominant side, we have your standard pine car aero wheel that's cut down pretty small, typically right around that inch area. And so we have 2 fenders that are cut down or have the radius that matches that perfectly. So we'll start with those 2, and we'll just put the wheel into place. And this isn't finalizing or anything, this is just going to get everything in place to show you how I do it and how it's pretty easy. So at this point, we're going to take our 2 fenders that are sized for that wheel, and then we're going to take our super glue. Now these are 3/8, so it definitely will cover the whole width of the wheel, and you can even sand it off some to make it so it's nice and smooth and you have good transitions everywhere. So I'm just using a super glue, a Loctite super glue, and it has a really quick cure time, and I like it because it's really fast and easy to work with. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put some glue along the edge of the body here. And I'm going to take my fender and I'm going to butt it right up against the wheel, and you see that radius fits nice and tight. And you'll notice on the car that fender sticks way out there. We're not worried about that because we're going to shape this down to the exact dimensions and shape that we want. So we're going to do the same for the back fender here. Take our glue and we're going to apply it to the body here, and then we take our fender and stick it on like so. So right now you can see we've got the kind of the shape of the car starting to take place, and now we're going to move to the back wheel. So the way I like to do this on the back wheel is I have some old style wheels that are very large diameter. I think these are like almost a 1.19, and most of the SS or the street stock wheels are laid down into that 1.6, 1.5 area. So these larger diameter wheels make it really nice because it gives you the perfect spacing for your fenders and the fender to wheel gap. So what I'm doing here is I just insert my wheel, my oversized wheel, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take that back fender, I'm going to apply the glue to the side of the body. I'm going to take that back fender and we're going to just butt it right up against there, and I'm kind of trying to see where I'm at here. Okay, so right now there's what we've got. So far so good. So now then we have these pieces, these balsa pieces in here that we give you, that you cut down to size to fit into that gap to take down to whatever size you need it to fit in there. So we've got a razor blade or a pair of scissors, and the nice thing about balsa is it cuts very easy, and you can shape it and fit it pretty easy as well. So that's pretty close there. We're just going to take a little piece of sandpaper and sand it down just a little bit so we can get it a nice snug fit in there, and then we'll glue it into place once we get it to slide in there. So that should be pretty close. All right. So, as you guys can see, you can turn it any which way you want to fill in your gap. But you'll see it's actually quite a bit smaller, but that's okay because we're going to be tapering these fenders down into it. And the reason we like that a little bit smaller is because it kind of gives us an endpoint to know where we want to sand these fenders to. So that fits nice and snug. So we're going to take our glue and just glue all the contacting edges. And then we're going to slide it in there. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, all the lines that, you know, match up just perfectly, because we are going to shape it and, you know, form it to however we want once we get them all on there. So, in order of time of keeping this video a little bit shorter, we're just going to do the one side and shape it real quick and show you how that end product comes out, and kind of go from there. Alright, so on this side you'll see that fender sticks out quite a bit in front of the car, which is fine, because all we have to do is take a razor blade and, oops, I just popped it off the body. Take a razor blade and cut that thing straight down like so. You might have to put a little touch of glue. It's a nice thing about balsa is it's very forgiving. I mean, it breaks and stuff fairly easy, but it's very easily repairable. Now, from this point, what I do is I got a little sanding block, little piece of wood that has some sandpaper glued to it. This is, I believe, like a 180 grit paper on here, so it's not real abrasive. I've got 100 grit that I'm just going to put over the top of it, just so that we can sand these down a little bit faster. So now, simple sanding procedure. I'm going to use the flatter end of that block, and I just wrap it around and hold it on the top, kind of pinch it, and it works good. Now, if you're going to be doing this a lot, I would recommend just gluing your sandpaper to the block of wood that you use, and then you have, you know, your 80 grit, your 100 grit, your 120, however you want to use it. So because it's balsa, it actually sands pretty fast once you get going on it. And you could even, at this point, if I had the tools and the equipment here, I would probably just even take it up to a belt sander and get that shape a little bit closer to where we want it. But you can see it comes off, and we're tapering that thing down really quick. Imagine, you know, a few minutes of sanding on each one of these, and it's going to be shaped pretty fast. Quick shape. Typically I'd spend a little more time on trying to get it as perfect as what I want, but this is just to give you a rough idea of how quick you can get these shaped and formed to what you want to accomplish. As you can see, matter of a few minutes that you can get them shaped pretty closely to exactly the way you want on the car. And for me, I would still take these down a little bit, and so that they're even tighter with the wheel and maybe not so large. Also, when you're doing this, I would highly recommend, you know, leaving the wheels installed. That way it's going to, you know, give some strength to these edges. The nice thing about the balsa is that if it does break, you can just glue it back together with some CA glue, and then it's going to be really, really strong. Now I know some guys, a lot of guys, once that they form their fenders, the balsa, to strengthen them up, they'll pull the cap off of, or the lower lid off of this, and use like a really cheap paintbrush from Walmart or whatnot, and coat the whole fender in CA glue, and that's going to make them really, really strong. So once you get the shape that you're happy with and that you like, you can do that. The beautiful thing about these larger wheels, and I'm going to tell you how you can make a wheel larger pretty easy if you don't have any of these older style wheels. In fact, I'll do that right now. If you just take a regular BSA wheel, clean this off a little bit, and you take some tape, all you got to do is wrap some tape around this. Typically I'll use like an electrical tape, just because it's not as wide as this masking. But if you go around this wheel, you know, several times, you're going to increase the diameter of it, and make it so you can shim that fender out when you're doing this. And then this tape will also do two things. It'll shim it out, and then it'll also protect the wheel if it's a wheel that you're planning on using in the future, from any sandpaper or whatnot. Maybe I can cut this off. And we're not going for pure fitment here, so, but if you do something like that, pull that axle out, put that in, and then you can see that basically accomplishes that exact same purpose here. And I think I went around that wheel maybe 3 times. So you can do that with your standard BSA wheels. I'm going to show you the fitment here now. These are just a set of the MPW DRL 2.0 SS wheels that we've cut, and so you'll see, I'll have Rhonda zoom in on the clearance of that, and you'll see how perfect that thing is. There's nothing touching it. It is perfectly squared up to that wheel. So this is full fender install and shape 101, very quick crash course on how to put these things on and how easy it is over trying to cut and shape it, you know, from one piece of balsa. And if you get low spots in the balsa, you can always take a little wood filler into and fill it up in there, and then sand it back out, and you'll never even know. I'm all about speed, but I know there's a lot of guys that are very much into the show and the perfectness of stuff. So, real quick example of how to do that. Maybe I'll finish this car off and throw it in the next league race. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. We will be more than happy to answer any of those that you may have. And for any of your Pinewood Derby product needs and supplies, remember to visit us at derbyevolution.com, and we'll help you out. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.